This is an outrage disguised as a study. The FCC regulates the media, and it has the power to remove your license, meaning to ruin you overnight. So any questions it asks is never innocent. And what is it asking about critical information needs? Who decides what's a critical information need? The critical information need is a concept that you have in Kiev or in Moscow. You don't have it in the United States.
Wow. Charles Krauthammer reacting to this proposed FCC plan to study newsrooms to monitor what kinds of stories are being covered, whether or not the voices of some producers are not being heard in the room. Krauthammer is hardly alone in his concern here. The FCC chairman responded to the firestorm that this has created, telling the House Energy and Commerce Committee that his agency has no intention, in his opinion, of policing the newsrooms with this. Congresswoman Marsha Blackburn, vice chair of that committee, she joins us now, and she's been involved in this whole issue of critical information needs for quite some time. Congresswoman, welcome. Good to have you here.
Good to be with you. Thank you.
So they seem to be, sort of, whoa, hold on. This isn't anything that anyone needs to be worried about. We're simply, interested in making sure that there's no barriers to entry for smaller media organizations. What do you make of that?
I think that what they are doing is typical of this administration. They say one thing and do another. And this multi-market critical information needs study, where they're going to go into newsrooms and ask 8 questions. Martha, it is all about controlling content and then being able to prioritize that content as it moves across the airwaves and across the internet. And Charles Krauthammer is exactly right on this. People should be frightened and fearful of what they are trying to do, because the FCC is trying not only to control through the licensing or the spectrum or the broadband process, and that's called net neutrality, but also through the content. And they're doing it through this critical information needs study.
Yeah, and they want to, some of these questions deal with content, as you say, and they want to make sure that the environment and other issues that we know are very close to this administration's heart are being covered in these newsrooms. Right. And I just thought, one of the questions was, do producers ever feel that their stories or their pitches are not well received by management?
Right.
I mean, seriously?
Well, see, there again, they're trying to prioritize what they at the FCC think the American people should be told or should be hearing. They're trying to put their bias in on the front end before the story ever gets out there. And they did this through the Fairness Doctrine, and basically this is Fairness Doctrine 2.0, if you will, because the Fairness Doctrine, tons of lawsuits in the 60s and 70s. Fairness Doctrine goes away. So now they're coming back and they're saying, well, this isn't the Fairness Doctrine. We're not attacking free speech. You can say whatever you want to say, but it's got to be about this specific set of issues.
All right,
and I think this is incredibly troublesome. And whether they're doing it over the broadcast airwaves or the broadband with internet, their goal is to control what you, the American citizen, is able to hear.
I mean, it's clearly something that everybody needs to really give a lot of thought to and understand, because we know that the administration has complained that they don't think that they get a fair shake in certain places. And in many ways, it reminds me of what we've seen with the IRS.
Precisely, and you're exactly right to draw that analogy with what is happening with the IRS. When it came to the conservative groups, there were a lot of the same questions that they were asking about these groups, and information they were seeking from these groups that they're now going to ask about the newsrooms.
What do you pray for? What books do you read? Remember that?
That's exactly right, and it's the thought police. So there again, in order to control your access, which is the broadcast and the broadband, they're going to ask these questions and then put priority and value onto the content. And as Charles said, the FCC is who licenses all of these broadcast entities, the TV stations,
That's right.
the radio
So they have
stations,
to go to this
and they're trying
organization
to
for
get
your
hold
license,
of
and
the
if
internet.
they're not happy with the access they've had at your news station, you might be concerned about that. What can Congress do? Because I know you're on top of, you've written a bill that you're going to be dropping on this.
Yes, we're going to file the bill this morning. It is the Internet Freedom Act, and we had put this in place after 2010 when the FCC had tried to implement the net neutrality rules for the Internet, and that was not passed. There was bipartisan opposition to net neutrality in Congress. They tried to do it through the rules. The court ruled against the FCC. So now you have Chairman Wheeler coming back and saying he is going to do it yet again. So my bill will be filed this morning. And then we have been on the critical information needs study. We've already written the FCC. We've asked them to retract or pull this back.
Yeah, and this is right in your wheelhouse. You've done a lot of work on it. Congresswoman,
Yes.
Thank you very much. We'll see you next time.
Good to be with you. Thank you.
You too.